India's plastic money is coming. And it changes everything. Imagine pulling out a currency note from your pocket, and it survives a full cycle in the washing machine. No damage, no fading, no tearing. You'd think that's impossible, right? A note that laughs at water, shrugs off dirt, and lasts nearly 5 times longer than the one you're carrying right now. Well, that note isn't science fiction. It already exists. And as of 2026, the Reserve Bank of India, the RBI, is seriously, actively working to put it in your wallet. India is on the verge of one of the biggest changes to its currency system in decades, and most people don't even know it's coming. In this video, we're going to talk about everything: what plastic currency actually is, why India failed to introduce it once before, why the RBI is trying again right now, what it means for your daily life, and whether this is actually a good idea for a country like ours. Stay with us, because by the end of this video, you will never look at a torn, dirty 50 rupee note the same way again. Segment 1. What is plastic currency? Let's start from the very beginning. When we say plastic currency or polymer notes, we are not talking about a credit card or a debit card. We are not talking about digital money either. We are talking about actual physical currency notes, the kind you fold and put in your pocket, but made from a completely different material. Right now, Indian currency notes are made from a blend of cotton and paper. This is true for most countries. Cotton-based paper has been used for centuries because it is strong, it absorbs ink well, and it has a familiar texture that people trust. But polymer notes are different. They are made from a flexible plastic substrate, a thin, durable layer of treated plastic, instead of traditional cotton-based paper. Think of it like this. Take the sturdiest plastic folder you've ever held. Now imagine it rolled out so thin and smooth that it feels almost like paper, can be folded, handled, and even printed on, just like a regular note. That is essentially what a polymer banknote is. The technology was first introduced by Australia back in 1988, starting with a $10 note. Since then, polymer banknotes have spread to more than 60 countries around the world. Countries like Canada, the United Kingdom, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Mexico, New Zealand, all of them have either fully switched to polymer notes or are using them alongside paper notes for certain denominations. So this is not some experimental, untested idea. This is proven technology that has been used by billions of people across the globe for nearly 4 decades. Now the question is, what makes these plastic notes so special? Why are countries switching? And why is India finally taking this seriously? Let's talk about that. Segment 2. Why polymer notes are a game changer. There are 5 major reasons why polymer notes are considered a significant upgrade over traditional paper currency. And each of these reasons matters a great deal for a country the size of India. Number 1. Durability. Polymer notes are more resistant to dirt, moisture, and tearing, allowing them to remain in circulation for much longer before they become too damaged to use. This is particularly relevant in a country like India, where notes are exposed to a wide range of climatic conditions and intensive handling. Think about what a 10 rupee note goes through in India. It passes through the hands of a vegetable vendor in a wet market in Kerala. Then a schoolchild in Rajasthan stuffs it in a sweaty pocket during peak summer. Then a bus conductor folds and refolds it 100 times. Then it sits in a damp wallet during monsoon in Assam. Paper notes survive this kind of treatment for maybe 1 to 2 years before they become soiled and have to be destroyed. Polymer notes, being made from plastic, can last 2 to 3 times longer than paper notes, which reduces how often they need to be replaced. Number 2. Cost savings, but not how you think. Here's where it gets interesting. Polymer notes actually cost more to print per piece than paper notes. They require specialized equipment, different inks, and a more complex manufacturing process. So how does this save money? Simple. Because they last so much longer, you don't need to print as many of them. Over a full life cycle, polymer notes generally last significantly longer than paper notes, reducing the frequency with which damaged or worn-out currency must be replaced, helping lower long-term currency management costs despite higher initial production expenses. Segment 4. Why is the RBI reviving this in 2026? So what changed? Why is 2026 different from 2012? There are two major forces pushing the RBI back toward this idea, and both of them come down to money, specifically how much money India is spending on its money. Force 1. The cost of printing is exploding. The expenditure incurred on printing paper currency notes during 2024 to 25 was 6,372.8 crore rupees, compared to 5,101.4 crore rupees the previous year, mainly due to an increase in printing of banknotes. That's a jump of over 1,200 crore rupees in a single year. The government is spending more and more just to keep cash in circulation, and the demand for cash is only going up. Here's the part that surprises most people. Even as digital payments have exploded in India, UPI transactions, mobile wallets, net banking, cash hasn't gone away. In fact, currency in circulation reached a record 42.86 trillion rupees as of May 2026, representing an annual increase of 11.5%. Cash is not dying. India's economy is growing, and more cash is needed every year. Force 2. Notes are wearing out at an alarming rate. The disposal of soiled banknotes has remained high. Data shows 23.8 billion pieces of soiled banknotes were disposed of in fiscal year 25, rising 12.3% from 21.24 billion pieces the previous year. 23.8 billion. Let that number sink in. Nearly 24 billion notes destroyed in a single year because they were too worn and dirty to use. This is money literally being thrown away. And the RBI has to print new notes to replace each and every one of them. So the math becomes clear. If polymer notes last 2 to 3 times longer, you are destroying and replacing notes 2 to 3 times less frequently. Even if each polymer note costs more to print, the overall system cost goes down. A pilot project involving plastic banknotes for public use is expected to be announced soon, according to sources familiar with the board's deliberations. And critically, the technology issue that killed the 2012 attempt? Sources emphasize that the said technology is no longer a challenge, and solutions have been arrived at to ensure ATMs can identify such notes. The world has had 14 more years of experience with polymer notes. ATM manufacturers have developed compatible machines. Currency sorting equipment has evolved, and India's banking infrastructure is far more modernized today than it was in 2012. Segment 5. What the pilot will look like. So what exactly is going to happen? A complete shift to polymer currency is unlikely in the near future. The RBI is expected to begin with a limited trial, and a nationwide rollout will depend on how successful the pilot project is. A pilot project is expected to be launched soon, with 10 and 20 rupee denomination notes likely to be tested first. Why these denominations specifically? Lower denomination notes such as 10 rupees and 20 rupees are considered the most likely candidates because they circulate more rapidly and pass through more hassans than high-value notes. They are the ones that get dirty, torn, and destroyed the fastest. They make the most sense to test first. ATMs would be enabled to dispense polymer-based notes as part of the rollout, which signals that this time around, the infrastructure challenge is already being addressed before the launch. However, and this is important to understand, RBI Governor Sanjay Malhotra himself has been careful about managing expectations. He clarified that the central bank is currently examining the feasibility of introducing polymer-based banknotes, but no final decision has been taken yet. He stated that the proposal is still in a very preliminary stage. So the honest picture is this. The direction is clear, the groundwork is being laid, discussions at the highest levels of the RBI are happening, but India is not waking up tomorrow to find plastic notes in its wallet. This will be a carefully managed, phased process. Segment 6. The challenges. This is not simple. Now let's be fair and honest, the way good analysis should be. Polymer currency is not a magic solution. It comes with real challenges, and India must address each one of them seriously. Challenge 1. High infrastructure cost. Banks, ATMs, note-sorting machines, cash vans, and vending systems will all need adjustment. This is not cheap. It requires investment, time, and coordination across thousands of banks and hundreds of thousands of ATMs across the country. Challenge 2. Higher production cost per note. As we discussed, polymer notes cost more to manufacture individually. If the pilot shows that they don't last as long as expected in India's specific conditions, the entire cost argument collapses. The RBI needs rigorous data from the pilot, not assumptions. Challenge 3. Public trust and acceptance. Public education will matter. Indian citizens, especially in rural areas, have deep familiarity with paper currency. The texture, the feel, the way a note crinkles. These things build trust. A note that feels like plastic may be met with suspicion by people who have never encountered it. Think of a 60-year-old vegetable seller in a small town. She has handled paper rupee notes her entire life. When someone hands her a note that feels and sounds different, she may reject it or question it. Public communication campaigns will need to be massive and sustained. Challenge 4. Disposal and the plastic problem. India already struggles with plastic waste management. Disposal and recycling of polymer notes is a real concern. India cannot afford a hurried transition. Yes, polymer notes can be recycled, but only if the recycling infrastructure is in place. If soiled polymer notes end up in rivers and landfills the way other plastic waste does in India, the environmental benefit disappears entirely. Challenge 5. Climate variability. India's climate is extreme and varied. From the frozen passes of Ladakh to the steaming mangroves of the Sundarbans, from the bone-dry Thar Desert to the perpetually wet northeastern states, currency notes travel through all of it. Polymer notes are more resistant to moisture, dirt, and tearing, making them better suited for India's hot and humid climate, but the full-scale real-world test across all of India's conditions is something only a pilot can truly reveal. Segment 7. What this means for you. So what does all of this mean for the average Indian? In the short term, not much changes. Paper notes will continue to circulate. Even when the pilot launches, it will be a small number of polymer 10 or 20 rupee notes in limited areas. You may or may not encounter one. But in the medium to long term, if the pilot succeeds, here is what changes for ordinary people. Your currency will last longer. Notes won't come back to you torn in half or so dirty, they're barely readable. The note you receive will look and feel cleaner and newer, even if it has been in circulation for a year. Counterfeiting will become harder. The fake notes that enter the economy and damage everyone in it will be far more difficult to produce. Your ATM experience may improve. Initial trials are expected to focus on lower denomination notes like 10 rupees, 20 rupees, and 50 rupees, which wear out faster due to heavy use. These are the exact notes that ATMs often run out of, get rejected, or dispense in terrible condition. And from a national perspective, the government saves money. Money that can be directed elsewhere. Closing segment. India is a country that has never shied away from bold decisions about its currency. We saw that dramatically in November 2016 with demonetization. We saw it with the introduction of the Mahatma Gandhi New Series notes. We are seeing it again now with the gradual shift toward a digital payment ecosystem. And now, we are standing at the edge of another change. Plastic money is not a gimmick. It is not a fad. It is proven technology, adopted by over 60 countries with clear advantages in durability, security, and long-term cost. The only real question for India is not if, but when and how carefully. The RBI is moving in the right direction, slowly, methodically, and with lessons learned from a failed attempt over a decade ago. The money in your pocket has looked the same for your entire life. It may be about to change, and honestly, change has never felt more necessary. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up and subscribe, because we cover stories like this that most channels don't dig into deeply enough. And drop a comment below. Would you trust a plastic note more or less than a paper one? We'll see you in the next video. Lower denomination notes such as 10 rupees and 20 rupees are considered the most likely candidates because they circulate more rapidly and pass through more hands than high-value notes. They are the ones that get dirty, torn, and destroyed the fastest. They make the most sense to test first. ATMs would be enabled to dispense polymer-based notes as part of the rollout, which signals that this time around, the infrastructure challenge is already being addressed before the launch. However, and this is important to understand, Governor Sanjay Malhotra himself has been careful about managing expectations. He clarified that the central bank is currently examining the feasibility of introducing polymer-based banknotes, but no final decision has been taken yet. He stated that the proposal is still in a very preliminary stage. So the honest picture is this: the direction is clear, the groundwork is being laid, discussions at the highest levels of the RBI are happening, but India is not waking up tomorrow to find plastic notes in its wallet. This will be a carefully managed, phased process. But in the medium to long term, if the pilot succeeds, here is what changes for ordinary people. Your currency will last longer. Notes won't come back to you torn in half or so dirty, they're barely readable. The note you receive will look and feel cleaner and newer, even if it has been in circulation for a year. Counterfeiting will become harder. The fake notes that enter the economy and damage everyone in it will be far more difficult to produce. Your ATM experience may improve. Initial trials are expected to focus on lower denomination notes like 10 rupees, 20 rupees, and 50 rupees, which wear out faster due to heavy use. These are the exact notes that ATMs often run out of, get rejected, or dispense in terrible condition. And from a national perspective, the government saves money that can be directed elsewhere.